And here you are in a deployed location and you're not able to get to your fix. You're not able to get to your hit of dopamine. Do you know what happens to a junkie when they're not able to get their fix?
They freak the fuck out.
Roll me, Mac.
What type of assumptions did you used to have often? All right, so when somebody types you okay in a text, that means they're mad at you. It doesn't mean it all the time, but depending on the nature of how insecure and how immature that person is, okay does mean that. But for the most part, because of that trauma, assuming that when somebody types okay to a text that they're upset about something. You know, but that, I mean, we all know that from text language, you know, like as far as when somebody hits okay, sometimes, depending on the nature of the conversation, it can be perceived as the individual is pissed. And then people pleasers like to figure out what the fuck going on. And then some of us is like, well, fine then, fuck. Or another one, fine. Like when you type fine in a text, it means that person catching an attitude or something like that. Many a times, many a nights and days where okay has been typed, fine has been typed. So like okay, fine means that the person is like pissed off. And it's not necessarily the case. Also, another assumption that I would make was like, if I called you and you didn't pick up when I wanted you to pick up, that means you didn't love me. It's a weird ass assumption, right? It's just so extreme. Such an extreme assumption that when I call you, you don't pick up, that means you don't love me, or you know what I'm saying, you don't care about me, whatever it is. Especially when I was in the Air Force and in the desert. I think I was spazzing. I was really spazzing, and my girlfriend at the time, I certainly called her multiple times throughout the day, and with no pickup. That I can say. Now, as far as everybody else, they caught the tail end of all of that. You know, the girl I was seeing at the time, I would call her, and we actually worked together. You know what I mean? So if she wanted to get to me, she could. So those were my unconscious assumptions that was going on in my head, young, 20, you know what I'm saying? 20 years old. And just trying to project my insecurities onto this young lady. And I was scared. Number one, being deployed, just thinking that something was drastic was going to happen, even though it was at Al-Udeid, and Al-Udeid is known as the Disneyland of like deployment locations. You know what I'm saying? But I was frantic. I was panicking. I was spazzing out because I was away from everything that I loved in a country far away, far away from the United States. And so I was assuming, you know, if I called you and you didn't pick up, that means you don't love me. And whether that would be family, friends, whatever, you can call it whatever you want to call it. But that's the assumptions that I used to have. I used to run away with so many scenarios in my mind because the world revolved around me and nothing else mattered. It was just all about me, you know? And so if I called you, anytime after that, once I got back from the desert, and I think this is maybe PTSD for sure, but I would only call you once. And after that, I was done, like forever. You know, it was just, that's where I was with it. And it was a constant reminder of the shit I went through in the desert, where I kept calling somebody that I loved and there was no pickup, and it was just a reminder of the pain, right? My entitled pain, my expectations. I was my own pain, you know, my expectations that she was gonna pick up the phone. I was entitled to the fact that she was gonna pick up the phone. And I had an ego about the fact that she didn't pick up the fucking phone. Like, who the fuck are you to not pick up the phone when I call your ass? You know what I'm saying? Like, I was very much, the world revolved around me. At that point in time, at least I thought. I was in my own world for a lot of things. It was tough, one, being away from, the first time I was away from my family in the Air Force, and not near any family, you know, outside of my uncle. I gotta take that back. My uncle was there. My uncle was in the Air Force already before me, obviously, and then he got orders to the base, and he's actually still there now. But when I was there, it made me feel closer to home, but that still wasn't my immediate family. So I was, you know, just in survival mode. And when you're in survival mode, you do your best to not get close to anything. But then that crazy little thing called love kind of creeps in, or bonding, whatever you want to call it, trauma bonding, where you feel close to someone and you get used to that emotion every day. Now your brain is now relying upon this feeling that you get from being around this person. And here you are in a deployed location and you're not able to get to your fix. You're not able to get to your hit of dopamine. Do you know what happens to a junkie when they're not able to get their fix? They freak the fuck out. I was freaking the fuck out. I was having a moment in the desert, and I was scared. I wasn't living in love. I was living in fear. You know, I was straight in fear of having love removed. I wasn't good enough for love, and a whole list of other shit that was coming up in my mind while I was experiencing that whole ordeal in the desert, calling someone that claimed to love me and not picking up the phone. And I didn't talk to her, and it sucked, because I mean, truth be told, we had broken up prior to the deployment. Then we got, you know, somewhat together out there in the desert. I'm not gonna lie, I did some fuck shit. She called me on Christmas and I was being spiteful and I didn't pick up the phone. So hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Not gonna paint this picture like I'm the victim here. No, we were playing in some young people games, and I knew what I was doing when she called, and I was like, fuck that. Bitch gonna break up with me. Fuck that. That's where my mentality was. And so, you know, we got out, you know, I got out there to the desert. I was gonna see her like a week later. So, you know, we're talking. We're just out there together, you know, just seeing each other. But then she had to come back for a family emergency, and I was out there in the desert. But her job had a means of getting in contact with whoever. So she knew where I was, and there was no effort put in. And I felt entitled to the fact that you know how to reach me. You can get in contact with me. You know I'm calling your phone multiple times. That's where my head was. And I was accusing everything. I created so many scenarios, so many assumptions why she wasn't picking up the phone. She was with another guy. She was with whatever, you know what I mean? Just having so many assumptions, so many scenarios I created in my head. And mind you, it's all my imagination based on fear. That's what we're talking about here. These assumptions. Most of our assumptions are created from our insecurities based on fear. And I was in a position to where I could not do anything about it. So it just caused me to really just go into survival mode. And I don't know, I shut off emotions for a little while. And when I got back, it was a little bit more of the same thing. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was still trying to keep the window open for that girl. Simping very hard. You know what I'm saying? Beta tails is what we'll call that. I was waiting around. I had not been educated on the concept of genuine burning desire yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, genuine burning desire, fellas, when a woman has genuine burning desire, that whole waiting, you know what I'm saying, to like for the right moment, no. She's gonna go after what she wants. That's what GBD is. You know what I'm saying? And I had to learn the difference 15 years later, but I had to learn the difference. But back then, I wasn't the choice. Another unconscious assumption. But obviously I wasn't the choice because, you know, we're not together to this day. Now, there's no ill will between us. I actually, you know, we've made amends and being cool with one another. It's just like we were kids, you know, in the Air Force, and now just wishing that individual well with her family and all that stuff, you know what I'm saying, that would go on after that. There was, like I said, you know, it was just cool. It's like no love lost, you know what I'm saying, no love gained for that matter, but more just like that was our moment in time. We were kids in the military. Yeah, and I would assume that people were talking about me. If I heard somebody laughing, I assumed that they were talking about me. Bitch, you ain't that fucking important. And I love that about life, is learning how important you're not, you know? And even, let's just say they were laughing at you. It wasn't about you. It had nothing to do with you. It's more about what they find to be funny. You just a prop in their comedy. And that's really like what it is, not to take it personal. And I was taking the shit personal because I felt like if I was being laughed at, then I wasn't good enough. You know what I'm saying? I assumed that I was not good enough. I based my worth and all that on exterior validation versus understanding that it comes from within. And to not give a fuck what anyone thinks about you and just live your life the way you want to. And let people have fun with their comedy, man. You know, fun is fun, jokes is jokes. And it's either the truth or it's nonsense. If they're talking about something that they can see, like you know, when I was little, I used to have a big head and big ears and I was real skinny. So to make jokes about me, my car with both doors open, or fucking Dumbo, or whatever, like one of my boys used to call me a fucking blow pop, like the candy, because my big ass head, skinny body, you know? And to have them jokes at you, when I was little, I used to cry like a bitch. I did. I sure enough did. I cried like a bitch if you talked about me. I think that's where that trauma started. Right there. You couldn't talk about me because I just felt like I wasn't good enough. That was on me. That was not on anybody else. But assuming, again, walking into a room and somebody's laughing and they're looking that way, they think you're talking about them and you want to defend yourself. And it's like, it's not necessary. What do you need to defend? You are who you are. Like, your ego wants to defend itself because it never feels like it's enough. But you, the person on the inside, the soul that is pumping, holding up this clay, this body of clay, you know what I'm saying, skin and all that, is the soul is fine. And it took a while to understand that. So let people have their fun, let people talk about you the way that they want to talk about you, and ain't got shit to do with you. And but just so many assumptions like I said, reading a text message and some okay or whatever, you know what I'm saying, okay or fine, or assuming that because a person is typing one word answers to you that there's an issue. you really might be asking one-word questions. You know what I'm saying? But don't get me wrong, there's some passive-aggressive, and I was definitely one of them, passive-aggressive people that will do that. So you just never know. But to assume, like running with, you feeling the emotion, be like, that person's catching an attitude. All right, you being short with me. You assume it's about you, for that matter. Let alone assume that they have an attitude. But you assume that the issue, what they're doing is about you. Nothing anyone does is about you. And that's one of the greatest time savers for your thoughts, for your anxiety, for your depression. Nothing that anyone does is about your ass. And when you like truly understand what that means and you hone that into your soul, you don't trip about shit too much anymore. Like, oh, okay, cool. They're going through something. They ain't got shit to do with me. And if it does have something to do with me, then address it, and then we can kind of, discuss it. Otherwise, you just want to be a victim. If a person has an issue with you and they choose not to address it, you know what I mean? There's an unconscious assumption that they want to be the victim. They benefit too much from being the victim. But if you're also that personality where they feel like they're not able to talk to you, they very well might not say anything. So you just never know. I guess you just, deal with it as the time comes. But assumptions, those are the assumptions that I used to have often. So typing okay in a text, typing fine, like reading somebody typing you okay, somebody typing you fine, one word answers. Of course, assuming if I called you and you didn't pick up, that you didn't care about me, because the world revolves around me, but it's totally not the case. I'm not that important. I'm just not. How would you describe yourself at your worst condition in life? Oh my gosh. Okay, so I love these questions. At my worst condition in life, I was practically suicidal. I was severely depressed. I felt like I had no purpose. I had no idea where I was going to do in the situation that I was currently in. Trying to be there for everybody and just not being able to be there for everybody and just feeling helpless. It caused me to go into a severe form of depression. I would get up enough to eat food and then go back to bed and just stay in the bed. And I wouldn't talk to, I was functional. I didn't know who to trust. I was very much afraid. I was confused, for that matter. Again, not knowing who to trust, especially like the family, with girls I was seeing at the time. It was a trying time. It very much was a trying time, because trying to pride yourself on being a perfectionist and trying to be there for everybody and wanting to have that for your ego, that you were there for everybody, trying to be Superman, doing all that you can to be seen, heard, and loved. Yeah. And wanting and believing that your role was to be there to make everybody happy. And if you weren't happy, I had to make you happy in order for me to be lovable. For me to be loved, I had to make you happy. So I was at the mercy of you. And imagine what you can do when a person is at the mercy of you and you're not a kind person. Imagine things that person is willing to do. And at my worst, I was willing to do whatever for who, like, to get that validation from that person I deemed to have my worth in their hands. So it took me on a path of darkness. It took me on a path of confusion, a path of being naive, a path of being manipulated, a path of destruction, essentially. There's a path of destruction, and I became something I wasn't. And not so much leaving your comfort zone type way, just I wanted to do whatever this person I put my value into wanted me to do, just so I can be seen. Be like, I'm loved, look at me. I'll do whatever you want. I'll worship the ground you walk on. I will, where you want to go, whatever you need. I would have done it. That's really what it was. And that's for anybody that was around me. I would put them on pedestals. I put everybody on pedestals except for me. That's, except when I didn't get my way. That's the only time I would put myself on a pedestal, as I was explaining in the last topic. You didn't pick up when I call you? Fine, I'll never call you again. That's how I feel. I'll never call you again. And thinking you hot shit, thinking the world revolves around you. You have no idea why that person didn't pick up the phone. And doesn't necessarily mean it was about you, but I put everybody on a pedestal. I didn't think I was good enough. I was brought up a certain way that didn't allow me to find that validation, that external validation that you somewhat look for as a kid, maybe from your peers, your parents, family in general. But I was not. I don't believe I got that. I don't believe I got that. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of us didn't. And it caused us to be a form of a narcissist, if you will. You know what I'm saying? Just so self-absorbed, self-obsessed with a lot of things, constantly taking, selfies, constantly changing your profile picture online, constantly trying to take your shirt off, trying to show your little skinny ass abs and arms, MySpace days. But there was a lot of insecurity being brought to the surface in little things that I was doing. And at my worst, you had the power. I gave you power over me. I relinquished my power to you. I did not feel like I had power. I felt like I was helpless. And all that time, I was the one. You know what I'm saying? I was chosen. Something greater than myself. I was chosen. But I couldn't see it yet. But I had to go through it in order to recognize it later on. And realizing what that meant as far as for my purpose in life and what that would be going forward. Using my story, using the mistakes that I've made to help somebody else avoid the fork in the road, really is what I believe it is. And I'm grateful to do so, because there were plenty of times where I considered ending this, like a lot. I just felt like I was worthless. I didn't have a space. My ego got the best of me. Like I was living for my ego and my avatar. My avatar got tired of playing the role of this person that you've been trying to create, this perfect person that does not exist. Instead of showing a side of you that bears that you don't have it all figured out, that you do make mistakes, that it's okay to fall and get the fuck back up, because that's what life is about. It's not about how hard you can hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. Rocky Balboa quote, one of my favorite lines. And I was so caught up in the idea of me and what that meant. This superstar that I was attempting to create, especially living in a materialistic city like Miami, and really just feeling yourself just a little bit too much, a little too much, man. And not even, and being afraid to just embrace the things you do, the things where you come from, who you really were, the things you actually wanted to watch, the things you actually wanted to listen to, and just trying to fit in instead of belonging. And that's where I found me, or what I perceived to be me at the time. I would grow, I would go on to just embrace the fact that I'm not my mistakes, I'm not my accomplishments, I'm everything, I'm the light that shines through. And when Jim Carrey said that, man, it hit me so hard that I recognized it. I was like, all right, I don't have to put on these fronts, these airs for people. I'm fucked up and I own it and I love it, like I'm okay with not being the perfect role model anymore. I'm okay with having, some toxicity. I'm also okay with showing kindness to people. I'm okay with being in my head sometimes, temporarily, dealing with my ego. And when you recognize that you're not good enough, that's the ego talking. It's not you. It's not the soul. It's not your soul talking. Your soul is fine the way it is. But when you recognize your ego is driving the ship, you can redirect your mind and think of three things that you're grateful for, and then it ultimately switches your mood. That's just the science of it all. But like I said, at my worst, no one can tell me anything. I was ashamed of who I was. I was ashamed of what I allowed myself to be. I was ashamed because I didn't act on a lot of things, especially certain things in parenting. I was ultimately a beta bitch. I was, and I thought that somebody was coming to save me. I was waiting for me the whole time. I really was. I was waiting for me to go through something that was going to spark the change, and that's what I did. I call my last relationship the perfect storm. She taught me so much, man. She taught me so fucking much about myself and others, and the potential that that people can do which are in pain. And you know what I'm saying? It was such a life lesson that I'm very grateful for. Don't get me wrong. There were some acts of kindness shown, things that I hadn't seen. The love from, like being around a family that did things together. It was cool to see that. However, there were times where the one-on-one stuff, like between me and that individual, there was manipulation on both ends. You know what I'm saying? But in this aspect, the manipulation was taking advantage of somebody that worshiped the ground you walked on. And I'm not a victim by any means. I'm just explaining the situation and where my mind was, because I would have done anything. I thought that I hit the jackpot. I had the girl I had been chasing, my entire time in Miami, for that matter, as far as I knew, And so to go through that, right? To go through that situation and get what you thought you've always wanted, and then turn out to see it not from the idea of what the person was, but who they were showing you, and refusing to recognize who they were showing you. I was involved with someone prior to that situation, and we had the best fucking chemistry ever. It was the best chemistry ever at that point in time in my life, and I left it for what something appeared to be prettier. You know what I mean? And not that person wasn't attractive to me, but I was still caught on a past time when I first met that individual, and it was like trying to right the wrongs. Like, all right, I wasn't good enough for them, but now look at me, type thing. And I was in it for a rude awakening, I was in for a rude awakening. Not only did I lose who was somebody that was probably like one of my best friends, right? Just in life, you know what I'm saying? Just like talking, just the chemistry that we had together. Not only did I allow myself to let that go, I also beat myself up because of the decision that I made. And I just felt like I deserved this treatment, and no one deserves anything. We you either change it or you tolerate it. It's one of the two. That's just really what it boiled down to. But I just felt like I made such a mistake, a blunder in this relationship that I had with someone. And I was like, this is supposed to happen to me because I made that decision. That's not how life works. You know what I'm saying? It's not how life works. But again, in my worst condition, it was just everything hit me all at once. Girl I was seeing, some family shit, work stuff, it was a perfect storm. And I wanted to run away. And part of me did. I left Miami. I did. Part of that was on some bill shit. The other thing was running away from not facing your fears, facing your trauma, facing your issues. And conflict resolution was something that I was not privy to, the skills to deal with it at the time. So cowardly moves that were made. But I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself. You can run away all you want. You can't run from yourself. No matter where you go. No matter where you go, there you are. Essentially. Simba, you can run the fuck away. You can go party with that little meerkat and that little fat ass pig. Eventually, you got to come back to Pride Rock. And I had to come back to Pride Rock. Eventually. Over time. It took time. But it was a lot of therapy, a lot of reading, a lot of COVID books. You know what I'm saying? Like, COVID made time. You couldn't go out. I mean, you can go outside, but you better not go near anyone. So I spent a lot of time walking. I spent a lot of time reading books. Spent a lot of time listening to mental health shit on YouTube. And of course, time jerking. Yep, certainly did. Just being honest, there was a lot of that for sure. But all in all, it was a journey. It was an experience to be had, and I'm grateful for it. I really am. I really am grateful for the fact that I went through all that. I allowed myself to go through all of that, and to build myself up to the man that you see today. So when I see like a fellow human that is in a space where that looks very familiar to me, I will do my best to offer strategies of recovery, kindness, number one, and just a place where you can be okay with expressing yourself without judgment. Because we all go through shit, and you never know who's dealing with some shit. They may not speak on it. They might be projecting their pain. As long as you don't let them project too much of their insecurities on you, you recognize and be like, all right, just have grace. But repetitive, repeat offenders with projecting their insecurities, now you got to remove yourself, because there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do to change them. You can only change yourself. So, but I mean, the worst time of my life, the worst part of my life, I mean, that's how I would describe it. Everything I just shared. But had I not gone through that, I wouldn't have had the spiritual awakening and my connection to God and the universe. So I'm very grateful for all that I've gone through. Very grateful to the people that were involved, that played a part in that part of my life and their roles in helping me become the man that I am. So very grateful for that. Grateful for the spiritual awakening. Grateful for overcoming adversity. What's the first food item you grab for in the bag on average when you buy a fast food combo? Fries. I tend to immediately go for fries. If it's like Taco Bell, I go for the smallest. So like if I like when I go to Taco Bell, it's between $15 to $20 each visit. Not just because I'm fat, but also inflation. These motherfuckers have turned up the prices at Taco Bell. But if I go to Taco Bell, I'm grabbing a soft taco or crunchy taco. Not the premium shits, save that for later. But when I am about to eat like McDonald's or Burger King, Hardee's, whatever, certainly go for the fries. Like it's just that's what I reach for, and you feel like you feel special when you find fries that fell out. It's at the bottom. They taste the same, but in your mind it's like, oh shit, they gave me extra fries. No, bitch, it fell out the bag, and that's what it was. But when I do eat fast food in a combo, I reach for the fries first. And if it's like tacos of some sort, like Taco Bell, then I go for the smallest taco that I ordered. What do you think is the most common complaint people in your country have? Entitlement. I believe the common complaint is about people who, if you're like me, the people who walk around with entitlement, or the opposite. People complaining because they feel they're entitled to shit. And it's okay. It's just observation, right? It's just observation about ourselves as humans and living so free in a world that we can do that. Like imagine living in a country where you feel like you're entitled to shit. Whether it be women, some women that feel entitled to a certain type of man for a husband. but they don't put forth the effort to attract said man. But they feel entitled to that man somehow or another. Guys, same thing. Feel entitled to sleep with a woman, but you bring nothing. You have nothing going for you. But somehow or another, you believe that because you bought a drink at the bar, that she gonna give you them draws. No, that's not how it works. It's not how it works, man. It's about understanding for me, like I said, the biggest complaint, that entitlement, right? And I think I see this for me, is that people feeling entitled to you. They have this idea of you in their head, in their movie that they've created, and your role. And when you don't act like that particular role, people throw tantrums. They throw adult tantrums, And it's just humans. That's all. It's just humans being humans. We are who we are. Trying to learn each day to figure out this thing. But we just, certain people that carry themselves like they're supposed to have these things. Like I'm supposed to fly at first class. A little Hillary Banks type mindset. That level of entitlement where I'm not supposed to, you can't talk to, you're not able to talk to me. You're not important enough to talk to me. Whatever it is, we treat people, if they don't have a status, if they don't have a label to them that is deemed of that importance, we just talk to them like they ain't shit because we're entitled to do so. Because we're that important. That we can look down on people because they don't have the things we have. Not knowing, who you're passing up the ladder of success, you very well may see them on the way down. So you just never know who is going to be the one to assist you. That's the beautiful thing about kindness. Kindness, people remember how you made them feel. And sometimes, don't get me wrong, some people can piss you the fuck off. Some people can be annoying as hell. But it's understanding that anger is a choice response. So if I have to yell at you, then I need to remove myself. so that I'm not, because I'm responsible for the things I say and do. So if I say something outwardly to you that is out of frustration, it may leave holes that are not able to be filled. And being very mindful of the things you say out of your mouth is very, very key to me. For me, in my life, I try to be very mindful about the shit that I say, because I know it can be used against me. Yeah, I know that at some point in time it can be used against me. So I'm grateful to have such a gift of memory for the most part, like for things that I've said. That way, when someone tries to put words in my mouth, I'm able to have a backup and verify that, no, that's not what I said. I like to, please take me for what I say, not for what you thought it meant, not for, putting words in my mouth, running away with the idea of what I said. No, I want you to take me for what I'm saying directly out of my mouth and hone in on that. Okay, then make your decision as far as like how you wish to deal with me. But yes, the entitled people, entitled kids that feel they don't have to work as hard as those before them, and they should have all the things that they want. Entitled to flashy cars, entitled to nice clothes, but don't want to put forth the effort and work to get those things, man. Like, if you're fortunate enough to come from a family that has, like, money, and you're able to do that, that entitlement of having so many luxuries, and you don't realize how much these are luxuries until you have them stripped from you. I can tell you from a kid that grew up feeling very entitled to a lot of things, thanks to parents who worked their asses off in order for me to have the things that I wanted. But again, spoiled. You know what I'm saying? Spoiled on certain things. Feeling entitled to having certain video games, having whatever it is that you wanted. Feeling entitled to clothes, feeling entitled to getting the new Jordans, feeling entitled to getting a pair of Timberlands, some Butters, feeling entitled to getting a leather jacket, whatever it was, just because I wanted it. Ask my mom and I want it, if whatever it is, I want to get something from the ice cream truck that's just driving by in the neighborhood. I feel entitled to this shit. Well, why? You know what I mean? But that goes to show how dope my parents made my life for me, that I could ask for that shit. And that's not for any of us parents that have kids that can sometimes come off as brats. That shows the effort that we've worked towards enabling them to have that option that they can do so. But I think, to me, that's the biggest complaint. I think the biggest complaint is those feeling that they're entitled to shit, and then those that think that there's too much entitlement in our country. People feeling so entitled to stuff. Like, just the way that we talk to one another. Our own like your own people feeling entitled to your success. That happens. You see it all the time with entertainers, where they make it, and then their family thinks that they can just ask for any kind of money because that person made it to the NBA, that person made it to the NFL. Well, they can get it. They can do it if they want it, But that's not how it works. My success is your success in the sense of inspiration, not financially. You know what I mean? Like, that's not your money to count. And I think oftentimes we lose sight of that. We do believe that because we grew up with this particular person and they went on to do great things, created a buku amount of wealth for themselves. Oh no, we entitled to that. No, you weren't there. As Drake said, you weren't in the gym shooting jumpers with me when it was grind time. But now that I'm shining, now that I'm showing a little bit of success, you feel entitled to my success. No, you don't. You're not entitled to that. And that's just It's just the nature of the beast. You know, when you start achieving a certain level of success, it brings out the insecurities in yourself, number one, but it also brings out the insecurities in others, and they just feel entitled to your success because you made it, I made it. And then if you don't help whoever's asking you for money, then you're looked at like a dick, cheap, whatever you want to call it. But why did you feel like my money was yours? Why would you feel entitled to my shit? Is the question. I just think about that more so from, like I said, entertainment standpoint. I mean, I'm totally not talking about myself at all. I've been fortunate enough not to have to go through such scenarios in life, you know. But like, I just really believe that entitlement is something that I would consider to be the biggest complaint in our country. And for those reasons alone, people feeling entitled to a certain treatment, entitled to your attention, entitled to, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, people feeling entitled to your attention, entitled to your money. The biggest complaint comes from those that are entitled, and also those that like recognize the entitlement in our country. So twofold. You got the entitled ones, and then you got the ones complaining about the entitled. But that's it for this episode. Signing off. From me, Mac. I'm out. Good night, kids.